Welcome to Elderly Care, the channel dedicated to supporting seniors through every stage of life. If this is your first time here, don't forget to subscribe, like the video, and share it with your loved ones so more people can benefit from its message. And to our returning viewers, thank you for coming back. Today, we're diving into a topic that may seem simple on the surface but holds deeper truths beneath. Why you must not go on a trip in old age, and 5 hidden health and emotional risks most people don't talk about. It was a sunny afternoon in early spring when Margaret, 72, decided to fulfill a lifelong dream, visiting the ancient city of Rome. She had saved up for years, carefully planned every stop, and even bought a lightweight suitcase to make travel easier. But what she hadn't prepared for were the moments of deep fatigue, the quiet anxiety that crept in during unfamiliar nights, and the strange dizziness that began halfway through her journey. By the time she returned home, what was meant to be a joyful trip had left her more depleted than fulfilled. Margaret's story is not unique, and it's a reminder that in our later years, travel, though romanticized, carries with it hidden risks that are rarely discussed. The golden years often come with the illusion of freedom from responsibilities, work schedules, and parenting duties. And what do most people dream of doing with that freedom? Traveling. But while the idea of wandering the cobblestone streets of Europe or watching cherry blossoms in Japan sounds idyllic, for those between the ages of 60 and 85, the physical and emotional toll can sometimes outweigh the joy. Let's take a closer look at the 5 hidden health and emotional risks seniors should be aware of before booking that next trip. 1. Increased risk of deep vein thrombosis, DVT. One of the lesser known yet serious risks for older adults during long journeys, especially flights, is deep vein thrombosis. This condition involves the formation of blood clots, usually in the legs, due to prolonged periods of sitting. Seniors, particularly those with limited mobility or pre-existing conditions like varicose veins or heart disease, are at a heightened risk. Margaret, like many others, had taken a long flight without walking around or hydrating adequately. She didn't know that even a few hours of immobility could trigger such a condition. It's not just about cramped seats. It's the body's reduced capacity to maintain circulation with age. While younger travelers can recover quickly from the stiffness of a long-haul flight, for seniors, it may lead to swollen legs, sharp pain, or worse, hospitalization in a foreign country where healthcare systems may be unfamiliar. 2. Emotional disorientation and loneliness. Travel is often marketed as a cure for boredom or restlessness, but for older adults, it can amplify feelings of disconnection. Stepping into an unfamiliar culture, facing a new language, or navigating through a crowded airport can bring on intense emotional fatigue. Margaret recalled sitting alone at a cafe in Rome, surrounded by bustling tourists, yet feeling profoundly lonely. She missed her routine, her quiet mornings, and the comfort of familiar surroundings. Seniors are more prone to emotional disorientation than younger travelers. Cognitive changes that come with age may make it more difficult to adapt quickly to change. Add jet lag, disrupted sleep, and sensory overload, and travel can become mentally draining rather than rejuvenating. 3. Dietary disruptions and digestive issues. The 3rd hidden risk is something most don't anticipate: how much a change in diet can affect your health at an older age. From unfamiliar spices to inconsistent meal times, senior travelers often find themselves struggling with indigestion, bloating, or more severe gastrointestinal issues. Margaret had always had a sensitive stomach, but she didn't think twice about enjoying rich pastas and local cheeses. Within days, she was dealing with severe discomfort that took the pleasure out of every meal. Traveling means breaking routines, and when it comes to digestion, routine is everything, especially as we age. Medications may need to be taken with food, yet finding the right type of meal at the right time is not always easy when you're on the move. Plus, dehydration, often overlooked, only makes these issues worse, for vulnerability to illness and limited medical access. Perhaps one of the most serious concerns is the heightened vulnerability to infection or sudden illness. Immune systems naturally weaken with age, and traveling exposes the body to new bacteria, viruses, and environmental stresses. Whether it's food poisoning, respiratory issues, or heat exhaustion, seniors are more susceptible, and the consequences can escalate quickly. Margaret caught a cold on the flight back that lingered for weeks. But what frightened her most was the realization that if something more serious had happened while abroad, she wouldn't have known where to go or how to ask for help. Navigating foreign healthcare systems, insurance limitations, or even a language barrier in an emergency can be overwhelming. Even something as basic as prescription medication can become complicated. What if your luggage is lost? What if your daily medication isn't available at your destination? These are not just inconveniences. They can become life-threatening scenarios. 5. Emotional burnout. From overstimulation, lastly, there's the risk of emotional burnout, a very real, very human reaction to too much sensory input. Modern travel often means long lines, crowded attraction, noisy transportation, and constant decision-making. For seniors, especially those who live alone or in quiet environments, this sudden burst of activity can lead to emotional exhaustion. Margaret had packed her itinerary with museums, guided tours, and city walks. But halfway through the week, she found herself retreating to her hotel room, unable to face another crowded monument or confusing map. It wasn't laziness. It was her mind and body signaling a need to slow down. As we age, energy is a finite resource, and emotional balance becomes harder to maintain in unfamiliar, high-stimulation environments. What begins as excitement can quietly shift into overwhelm, even despair. None of this is to say that travel must be avoided entirely, but it must be approached with a different mindset. The message here is not fear, but wisdom. If you're in your 60s, 70s, or 80s, and feeling that restless urge to see the world, consider not just where you want to go, but how your body and spirit might respond to the journey. There are alternatives that honor your desire for change without risking your well-being. Local retreats, short train rides to nearby towns, virtual travel experiences, or even slow, mindful exploration of your own city can provide fulfillment without the cost to health and emotional stability. And if you do decide to travel abroad, preparation is key. Speak with your doctor about the potential risks and how to mitigate them. Create a schedule that allows for rest. Choose accommodations that feel like a home base rather than just a place to sleep. And perhaps most importantly, travel with someone who understands your pace. Margaret eventually traveled again, but this time it was a quiet seaside village just 2 hours from her home. She stayed in a cozy inn, read books by the shore, and took gentle walks in the morning sun. She returned refreshed, not depleted. The world will always be there. The key is learning how to meet it with the grace and wisdom that age has given you. Because sometimes the greatest journeys aren't found in distant lands, but in how gently we choose to care for ourselves as we walk forward in life.